This morning on Today's Health, are energy drinks harmful to kids? The American Academy of Pediatrics is out with a new article today looking at the potential dangers adolescents could face by consuming these very popular caffeine-loaded drinks. NBC's chief medical editor, Dr. Nancy Snyderman, is here with details. Nancy, good morning to you. So this article looks at the possible effects of these drinks on children, adolescents, and young adults.
Right.
What did it find?
Well, it takes to issue whether these are supplements and dietary supplements at all, and basically says, they're not.
That's what they claim to be.
That's right. So this is a lead article in the journal Pediatrics that says, buyer beware, that there's a real concern that more kids are taking these than not. It's a big portion of the soft drink, if you will, industry, and that for certain children with cardiovascular diseases, children with diabetes, some children who may be taking neuropsychiatric medications, that the stimulants in these and the additives in these can affect any of the children who might have this. Now, they're just really right now cutting out that group of children. But what they're also saying is we don't know the effect on otherwise healthy children because there are really no standards for what are safe amounts and what are not safe amounts.
But what we're talking about is the amount of caffeine in the drinks?
The amount of caffeine is the number one issue. But then if you laundry list the number of things you see on labels, most of us have never even heard of them. Things like guanine, carnitine, taurine. Some of these are stimulants. And what they're saying is you have to, whether you're an adolescent or an adult, flip that can over and read what's in it. You and I might be concerned about the amount of caffeine our already insomniac kids have, but there are other things in here that can add as extra stimulants and can really make it even a bigger deal.
And some of those ingredients have caffeine in them as well, but that's not listed.
Correct.
On the label.
So there's a layered on effect of some of these elements.
And because this is not a food, the FDA cannot regulate how much caffeine is in here. It can't
this is
set a
the
limit.
slippery slope. So they are sort of marketed as supplements, dietary supplements. But so that sort of gets them out of that FDA coverage aspect. Most people see them sort of as soft drinks, so the FDA sort of loosely watches them. I think it's sort of that black hole of what the FDA doesn't, frankly, have enough punch to govern. And it really now has pitted pediatricians, the Beverage Association, people who market them, and people who consume them, all at sort of various, points around this whole conversation.
Yeah, let's bring in the Beverage Association because the article claims 30 to 50% of adolescents consume these energy drinks.
Right.
The ABA disagrees.
Right.
They argue that children and teens are not large consumers. They say, and this is a quote now, total caffeine consumption from energy drinks among preteens is nearly zero. And caffeine consumption from energy drinks for children and teens on average is far less than even one can of an energy drink per day.
Well,
disparity from what.
So I think here's where you have to say the pediatricians and the ABA probably have soft numbers on both sides. We don't know the number of preteens who pick up one of these things at the checkout counter and take them. But the caffeine issue is for real. Most of these will have about equivalent to maybe
8 ounces of coffee, right?
Yeah, 8 ounces of coffee, or some of them can have 5 times the amount of a soft drink. So if you look at this, you'll see that the amount of caffeine in an energy drink may only be 70 milligrams, and a cup of coffee may be the same. But do you want your kids at 10 o'clock at night to have the amount of caffeine that you or I would have in the morning? A lot of kids will have these multitude of times. And some teenagers and college kids are also taking these and mixing them with alcohol because they sort of like that taste. We've already had this conversation before that mixing caffeine and alcohol together is not smart on any sort.
So word to parents?
Word to parents is have this conversation. I had this conversation with my 16-year-old son Charlie last weekend. This is the real deal. This is like taking high octane whatever. Doesn't give you necessarily energy, but it makes you jittery, gives you a caffeine hit, and turn that label over and be a smart consumer and figure out what this stuff is. And if you have a child in any one of those problem groups, it's a conversation you need to have today.
All right, Dr. Nancy Snyderman, thank you so much.
You bet.